for A-levels in Kagumo School in Nyeri, after which I qualified to go to the University of Nairobi. And I studied in the University of Nairobi. And while I was working, I studied for my master's degree at the United States International University, Nairobi campus. I'd like to mention that although I joined USIU in 1989, I did not graduate until 1994 because for 3 years I had to go out of the country on an international assignment with the United Nations between 1991 and 1993. So that is why you see that although I joined in 1989, I only qualified I graduated in 1994. Allow me now to talk about my employment. Although this is not in my CV, after I left my A-levels, I worked as an untrained teacher in one of the secondary schools in Kirinyaga called Career Secondary School. And after working in Career Secondary School, then I joined the university in October of 1977. And then after finishing university, I joined the government of Kenya, the Ministry of Commerce, as a trade development officer. Initially, I worked in Nairobi, after which I was sent to Kitui as the district trade officer in Kitui. I left government in 1985 to join the United Nations as a national professional. I worked as a national professional for 5 years, after which I was given an international appointment as what we call an expert. And you see it in my UN passport, which I have attached to my document. I went to Sudan the northern part of Sudan in 1991, March. And I worked there and came back to Kenya in end of 1993. After coming back to Kenya, I initially worked in my own consultancy firm because we were brought into Kenya as a group of Kenyans that were being encouraged. There was a program to bring Kenyans working abroad to start similar initiatives, support mainly to small businesses. And when I came, I started that consultancy. And I did some work mainly in Kenya and Uganda in the region, and we had also a major project in Somalia funded by the European Union. As a consultant, I started working also. I also worked with the European Union and was supporting one of the big programs in Kenya called Micro Enterprises Support Program at that time. And it is when one of the expatriate staff left that they asked me to join, and I joined them in the year 2001 as a manager, after which that program was converted into a Kenyan trust. And when they advertised for the job of the CEO, I was the first, I got the job as a first CEO of the trust fund in the year 2003. And I worked there for 12 years and retired at the age of 58 in the year 2015. Immediately after retiring, I was called by the FAO of the United Nations to go to Zimbabwe to lead a technical assistance mission in 2015 and 2016, where they were establishing a similar institution to the one that I was leading here in Kenya. Came back to Kenya in the year 2017, started doing various things, particularly supporting family businesses. And then in 2018, Mr. Chairman, I was appointed as the Africa Regional Director by a British international NGO called Energy for Impact, with presence in 12 African countries and offices in five countries. As the regional director of the institution, I managed the countries in Africa. And then at the end of that year, because of course they were having financial difficulties, so I had to leave. And then in the year 2019, and 2020, I was mainly supporting one of the microfinance institutions that we had started. I was supporting the shareholders in selling it off to another institution here in Kenya. After which, in the year 2022, I joined the judiciary as a member of the Tax Appeals Tribunal, and that is where I am now, a full-time employee of the judiciary as a member of the Tax Appeals Tribunal. And Mr. Chairman, amongst the documents I've given is a recommendation from my immediate supervisor. Chairman, I would like to just talk now about my leadership, management and leadership, which is the last part, is that I have been a leader since I was a prefect in high school. You'll see my school leaving certificate, which is attached to my documents. When I was in secondary school, I was a prefect and a member of a number of clubs. Same thing in Kagumo School. And you see a letter of, from the University of Nairobi, where I was the chairman of Hall 10, 𝐍𝐤𝐚𝐡 Hall in the University of Nairobi. I was also the captain of the university athletics team. And then, of course, in all the jobs that I have held, I have held leadership roles. I have also played major roles as a chair of various institutions. I have been the chairman of the Association of Microfinance Institutions in Kenya, and I have had a lot of experience in the area of management, having been the CEO and holding various positions in the organizations. Thank you. Now, in regard to this job, I wish to bring my management skills, leadership and governance skills into the IEBC. And I also want to bring the dispute resolution skills I've acquired in the judiciary to this institution to be able to enhance it to its next level. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I ask Linda to ask you some questions. Linda, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Njagi, all this experience that you've had in your career journey, how has it prepared you for you to be able to thrive in such a multi-skilled and collaborative and high pressure, high stakes environment as an IEBC commissioner?
Thank you, Madam Leader. Yes, in all the jobs that I have held, particularly as a CEO and even now at the Tax Appeals Tribunal, it is, we have, in the tribunal, we are people that have all experiences and backgrounds. We have lawyers. In fact, in the tribunal, we have 9 lawyers, and the rest of us who are non-legal are from various backgrounds. They are valuers, they are accountants, management specialists, and all we do is we bring that experience to be able to resolve tax disputes. We also, in all those jobs that I have held, Mr. Chairman, I have been working with strict deadlines in a collaborative manner, and in a manner that we work with, for example, in the current job with in the judiciary, we work with a secretariat. As you will see, we have the members and then the secretariat, and we ensure that we work within very strict deadlines. We have specific targets. We have a performance management understandings that we sign between ourselves and the Chief Registrar Judiciary, and we must perform within those deadlines as we are evaluated on a regular basis on how well we are doing. Thank you.
And what competencies do you bring to the table?
I bring strategic planning, I bring strategic planning competencies. I also bring those management competencies. I also bring dispute resolution competencies. And I also bring competencies in terms of ability to plan.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
I want to invite Carol to ask you some questions. Ms. Kituku, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Njagi.
Good afternoon, Carol.
I hear one of your skills is in the area of dispute resolution.
Yes.
You know, it is also the mandate of the IBC. It undertakes dispute resolution mechanisms. How does IBC get to resolve disputes that emanate during the electoral cycle?
Thank you very much. Here I am taking the electoral cycle to mean before pre-election, during election itself, and after the election.
Yes, please.
I think the main disputes come during the election period, particularly with the political parties. And the way I would solve those disputes is to organize committees, particularly specifically. In fact, when I was applying for this job, I looked at the various functions of the the IEBC, and I noticed that currently, IEBC itself is working with subcommittees, particularly in the area of risk management, and they have those disputes relating to procurement, they have those disputes relating to political parties, they have disputes of all kinds. And I would initially, particularly disputes relating to the political parties, I know there is a subcommittee that within the IEBC that deals with political parties, engages political parties, but in terms of election, during the election period, would specifically form a committee that will be looking into those disputes and resolving them very quickly, because I think from the Election Act or from the IEBC Act, they must be resolved within a specific period.
Okay. Okay, so what are these disputes that are within the IBC's mandate? What are some of the disputes? Maybe you can mention 4 types of disputes that are within the IBC's dispute resolution mandate?
Yes. First of all, I think there will be the issue of the primaries, the risks of, second one is the risk of from the political parties, and the other disputes could be disputes relating to movement of voters who are moved from one place, and there could be also disputes relating to the correctness of the voters register. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Let's move on now to the next level of dispute resolution. When does the IBC now how does the IBC get involved in dispute resolution post-elections?
Yes, thank you. I know that IBC, after the elections, they are the political parties that elect members to or have their members elected to parliament. Sometimes they conglomerate, and one of the biggest disputes I have found is where many of these parties coming together, and they sometimes have a dispute saying that we have signed a memorandum of understanding amongst ourselves, and that memorandum of understanding, some of the members can be disowned, and that I find to be the biggest dispute amongst the parties.
So for clarity,
yes,
does IBC get involved in any way in dispute resolution post declaration of results?
No, I think other than those political parties, which of course go to the registrar of political parties, but IEBC normally would not get involved because most of those matters go to the registrar of political parties, except in issues which concern the list of who would have been nominated. I know there have been issues of where some parties saying our candidate is the one who should have been appointed.
Okay, that was pre-election process, right?
Yes.
Now we are at post. The IBC has conducted its elections. It has declared the winner, and now there are disputes, right?
Yes.
So at that point, what is the mandate of the IBC? Or where does it start? Where does it end? If you can take us through that process.
Yes, I think most of the disputes then would be taken to court in form of a petition if it is issues relating to elections. And IBC would only come in on issues relating to how for example, in terms of nominations, whether those lists of the people that are nominated either to the county assemblies or to parliament were in the original list.
Okay, let's come back to the court processes,
yes.
The petitions to court. What are the time frames, or what is does the law say in regard to the presidential petition? When must it be filed? When must it be determined?
Thank you. I think the presidential election must be filed within 7 days and determined by the courts within 14 days.
What about the others?
The others must be
governor's position, the senators, the MP, the women rep, all the other categories.
All the others must be filed within 28 days and determined within 6 months.
Okay. What then is the role of IBC in that process?
In almost all the election petitions I've seen, IEBC is always a respondent. It is normally they are the ones who are sued, and they must defend their conduct of the elections. So their role is to ensure that the suit or the petition is defended. Otherwise, if they don't do that, then it will be it will be
So
unchallenged.
how does it, ideally, how does it, you get involved in dispute resolution every day.
Yes.
So in your capacity and sitting in the tax appeals tribunal, so how does IBC get involved in that defense? How does it defend? What is expected of it?
Of course, IBC will look at the pleadings that are filed by whoever is filing the petition and laying the grounds of appeal. And once they give their grounds of appeal, IEBC will then respond. In most of the cases, IEBC will give its evidence to counter. We are in an adversarial system, and so IEBC must give its own evidence, and then of course then the petitioners will also give their evidence, and then it will be up to the court to determine, after looking at the evidence and the law, on whether the petitioner has any case, and then make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Njagi. I wish you well. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I want to ask Koki to ask you some questions. Madam Koki, please.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Njagi, the IEBC,
Yes, Ambassador.
the IEBC accredits some people to go to a polling station during the election
Yes.
day. Who are those people? Can you tell the panel the people who are allowed to go to the polling stations
Thank
during
you.
the elections day?
There will be the, thank you, Mr. Chairman. IEBC will accredit the, mainly, of course, the agents of the candidates will be accredited. They will also accredit local and international observers. Those are the two categories of people that they will accredit. And then, of course, there will be other people, like the people offering security. I'm not sure whether those ones are accredited, Mr. Chairman.
What about the people behind you?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I know the press is also accredited, and they are also accredited. I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
No,
Thank you.
That's okay. The real question of why I'm asking this question is, why specifically are these people allowed to go inside the polling station?
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think specifically elections are about perception, and the accreditation of the observers, accreditation of the agents of the candidates, and accreditation of the press and other people is to give the election, to give everybody participating in the elections confidence that things were done in a transparent and accountable manner. Because after all, there were people who are seeing how things are done. But if everything is done in a manner that nobody can be able to verify, then people would have doubts. But the mere fact that everybody saw what happened and everybody was there to observe, and everybody, even the candidates and the IEBC staff, know that reports will be prepared by the accredited persons. Then in that situation, and there are some certain forms that might be signed by the agents, it gives the level of accountability. It makes it higher because people know we are being watched and we must do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What about agents? We have had one of the biggest challenges for candidates is the capacity or incapacity to deploy agents around the country. Do they just need to deploy them to get confidence in the process?
Sorry, do they need to?
Do candidates spend a lot of money, especially presidential candidates, to deploy agents in all the pollings, in most of the polling stations? Do they deploy them and spend all that money just to give confidence in the process?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the candidates also deploy agents because they also want to be sure that let me use the word, their vote is protected, in the sense that when the candidate's agent is there, they ensure that things are being done the right way.
So you have actually said it, that to ensure their vote is protected. So should you be fortunate enough to be a member of IEBC, what will you do to make candidates feel, even if they don't spend money to deploy agents in all the polling stations, they can count on you to protect their vote?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. That is something that I have thought a lot about, and it is in my write-up on the motivation for applying for this particular to be a member. I thought, why is there trust deficit in this country? Why is it that people don't trust the IEBC that they can protect the vote? And I think, Mr. Chairman, the first thing that I will need to do or recommend to the IEBC, the Commission, to do is to ensure that we engage the stakeholders at almost all levels, particularly the political parties, because it's the political parties sometimes which make statements that seem like the election is not being organized well. And then the second thing is to educate the voters and show them the processes that are being followed. And Chair, I think once people know that there is no possibility of interfering with their vote or the vote they cast, and that the process is free and fair, then they will have confidence, and even it might not even be necessary for those candidates to deploy agents, because they are sure that the way things have been set up, they are foolproof. Nobody can, once they have cast their votes and the results are being transmitted, nobody can intercept those results because everything is foolproof and they have understood the process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Njagi, and all the best. Thank you very much, Chair.
Asante. I want to welcome FCPA Tanui to ask you some questions.
Bwana Njagi.
Yes, FCPA Tanui.
Yes, what is the nature of incorporation of MESP? Is it a government agency, an NGO, where you are CEO for 12 years?
Thank you very much. Originally, in the Gazette notice that was given in the year 2000, the original intention was to incorporate a government trust. But in the year 2001, the government decided to do a public trust. So the trustees, the founders of the trust, were the government of Kenya and the European Union. They are the ones who signed the trust deed as the founders. Then after that, we registered the trust under the Perpetual Succession Act, but it's a public trust owned by the government and the European Union, but the European Union later gave its rights to the government of Denmark, and originally the seed capital was given by the European Union, so the trust remains a public trust.
Thank you. Now,
Just a moment. And how is it related to MEST?
How is it?
Related to the other one?
Yes.
Small micro enterprise development.
Yes, Chairman, that's a very good question. Let me explain this. The European Union in 1997 gave Kenya a grant of $10 million to start a program that supports small businesses. And that program had 3 components: a revolving fund of about $5 million, a support program for marketing and development of products, and a credit fund. Now, Chair, in the financing agreement, it said all the money repaid from the revolving fund will be donated to Kenya to start a similar program to continue supporting the people of Kenya in perpetuity. So the money that remained in the program is what we used to start the trust fund. And that money up to now, other donors came in, and the trust fund, the Micro Enterprises Support Program Trust, now continues with that original money and the money that has been given, grants that have been given by other development partners. Thank you, Chair.
What's the relationship between the trust and the limited company?
Mr. Chairman, there is no limited company. It is just a trust fund.
You are Chief Executive Officer of Small and Micro Enterprise Development Limited.
Oh, yes. Okay. Small and Micro Enterprises Development Limited was my private consultancy firm, which I set up in 1994 when I left the United Nations. That was my own company, which I set up in 1994 and which I left in the year 2000 when I joined MES, because there would have been a lot of conflict in what I was doing, because my private company limited was also doing something very similar to what the European Union program was doing. So I had to abandon it and register it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, proceed.
Thank you, Chair. So I was saying that IEBC is a corporate body with perpetual succession.
Yes, I've seen that, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, and from your experience, both at MESP and Tax Appeals Tribunal, what, in your view, are the corporate governance issues that you foresee or that could be existing at IEBC? And what recommendations would you make to address those corporate governance challenges? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The biggest corporate governance issues always is the roles and responsibilities, particularly between the Secretariat and the members, or the commissioners, if I may use that word. Those roles must be very clear and defined. And in my experience, the best way is to work as the Commission guides the Secretariat, because their role is policy and strategy. And the best thing would be to work with the CEO or the Secretary of the IEBC to ensure that under every function of IEBC, there is a commissioner guiding the strategy and guiding the policy, and a director or a member of the Secretariat doing the operations and implementation, such that there is seamless flow between policy and implementation. The conflict is often when members at their level try to do operations, and then the people feel that your role is governance and not operations. That is the conflict I find.
So one is conflict. What else? What are the corporate governance issues?
The other corporate governance issues that need to be looked into is funding, the funding issues that the members need to look into, particularly in engaging the stakeholders that deliver the resources that are needed to deliver the mandate of IEBC. Those are the two specific ones I would point out.
Thank you, and I wish you well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I want to ask Misati to ask some questions, please.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah. Njagi.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask you, if you are chosen as one of the IPC commissioners, please mention some of the key activities that you will give priority in preparation for the 2027 general elections.
Thank you, Chair. The number one priority that I would give is getting resources for the IEBC. I am aware that the government has had a bit of financial difficulties, particularly after 2024, because I'm also in a government agency, and we find that IEBC in the past has had difficulties because of late release of the exchequer. We are almost 2 years, 3 months away from the next election. A lot of things need to be done. The technology needs to be procured or upgraded, and those procurement processes need to be done in good time. So my number one priority is getting resources. Then the second one would be the voter registration. According to the Constitution, IEBC is supposed to continuously register voters. And I'm informed that since the last election, just before the last election, no registration of voters has taken place. So, in order to do that, this is an interrelated thing where To be able to be registered as a voter, you need IDs. So my second priority would be to engage the government agencies in charge of, once we have received funds from the from the Treasury, the second priority would be to ensure we engage the agencies involved in the registration, in the issuance of IDs to be able to give the young people IDs and register them as voters. That is the second priority.
That is very good. So now, when you are doing voter registration, usually IEBC gives targets. What are some of the things that contribute to IEBC not meeting the targets of voter registration?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is a very good question because I have personally been involved because in the last election I tried to persuade one of my sons to register as a voter. I did not agree. And now he has agreed. But one of the things that I found is for voter apathy, because people do not understand why register as a voter, what is in it for me. And I think there needs to be a lot of civic education to guide our people on why there is need to register. Because I do know that even in the areas where, marginalized areas, where sparsely populated areas, IEBC even had mobile registration centers. And yet, majority of the people did not register. And when you ask them why they have not registered, they say, I didn't have the time. And I know that IEBC even used to register these, the potential voters or the voters over the weekend. So the most important thing in order to be able to help IEBC achieve its target is to have an aggressive campaign of educating voters on the need, or potential voters on the need to register, because voters are the foundation of an election, and without them, or without adequate number of voters, the election cannot be said to be credible, or even the people that are elected will not be said to be true representatives of the people. Thank you.
My last question.
Yes, sir.
Some members of parliament who are actually patrons of the CDF, they have put requirements when they are giving bursaries or CDFs for those people who are not registered voters in that region. They don't get, even if they come from that region. In your view, what can you say about that?
With your permission, Mr. Chairman, I think in Kenya, we have the Constitution guarantees the freedom of association, and it is not right for anybody to be forced to register as a voter. In any case, you may force somebody to register as a voter, but you'll not force them to go to a polling station on the particular day. So I think the best thing is to try to do it the faith-based way. You let people make a choice on whether to join your faith or not, but not to force them to register as voters.
So are you saying those MPs are doing an illegality?
I do not want to say so, Mr. Chairman, because that would.
But are you aware that happens?
I have heard of it, Mr. Chairman, that there are those conditionalities. But I first of all, they are helping the IEBC to get more voters. But and in any case, Mr. Chairman, even if you get those voters, it's not a guarantee that they'll vote for you. They may vote for your opponent. Thank you, but it is a good effort. But I don't think it's legally correct to do so.
The ones who are usually denied are the ones who don't vote in that particular region. They come from the same region, but you find they don't vote in that region. So the MPs or that CDF committees, they say you must be a voter in this particular region. Do you think they are helping issues of voter, those transfers of people who are transferring votes to other regions just to be voted, buying votes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I agree with you that the practice is people who are not registered as voters in that particular area are the ones who are likely to be denied the opportunity. But I think, Mr. Chairman, there is also provision that one can transfer their vote during the election cycle. After the elections, one can apply to be moved. But I don't think the transfer of your vote from one station to another should be influenced by the fact that you need a bursary for your children or for anything else. And I think, Mr. Chairman, would have to educate the politicians about that.
Thanks so much, and I wish you all the best. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Fatuma to ask a question also.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Njagi, would you kindly tell us in which ways you would work with the international community and development partners in ensuring that you get the best out of them during the electoral process?
Thank you very much, Madam Fatuma. I think Kenya is very lucky. We have very many international organizations that are willing to support our electoral cycle. I do know that there was a time, I'm not sure whether it's still in place, the government said that IEBC should not receive money directly, it should be channeled through government. But my experience was that UNDP was mobilizing resources on behalf of IEBC, and many of the activities, particularly in voter education, or mobilizing, informing voters, mobilizing people, all those civic education and training of staff, those activities can be done without necessarily or directly receiving money from the donor. The donor, I mean the development partners, they could work like the way they have done with UNDP, which then supports institutions. As IBC, we would invite, if I was to have the privilege of being a member, we would invite the potential, all the development partners to say we are looking for partners. They, of course, they are the traditional ones who have supported IEBC. Would go to them and look for others to invite them to be able to support IEBC in the framework that will have been agreed with the national government, because national government feels there are certain key things that must be financed by the people of Kenya, other than relying on the development partners who might have an interest in influencing the way things are done. Thank you.
So you say you'll still be able to maintain impartiality by selecting carefully?
Yes. Yes, and by the way, Madam Fatuma, let me say this. It does not mean that, for example, if I give an example of one donor providing the financing to IEBC for voter education, IEBC may not receive that money. That money could be, like what I've seen happening in the past, given to an organization such as UNDP, which is seen as a neutral United Nations agency, coordinating those activities such as civic education.
Provisions for in-kind donations?
I am not sure, Mr. Chairman, whether there are provisions for in-kind, but I would have no problem if, for example, a development partner paid for the stationery that is going to be used in voter education, or supported the media houses in carrying out or preparing programs that are going to be used for voter education. I think that will be in kind. The NBC will not get anything, but this will be in kind. Thank you. Thank you.
I invite Nicodemus to ask you some questions. Mr. Bore, please.
Thank you, Chair. Bwana Njage.
Yes, sir.
You have worked in the United Nations most of your...
For 10 years, and another two, almost 12 years.
12 years.
Yes.
And you have dealt with the development partners in most of this.
Yes.
Is it an advantage to you that when you get to IEBC, you might attract partners?
Let me not say that it is an advantage, because, but I was involved in fundraising, and fundraising is a process. We write concept notes, you invite partners, and there are very many, and I'm very happy about that as a Kenyan. There are very many partner organizations and countries that wish Kenya well. And being a shining example in Africa, I believe when we approach many of the development partners, the donors, about supporting Kenya, they would be more than happy to be associated with the success of this country.
So, you think that all donor partners are genuine in their interests?
No, not all donor countries are genuine in their interest. I happened, Chairman, to have been born or to have been an adult during the time of Cold War, and engagements with each country were meant to influence a country to support the side of the Cold War. Such that now, if you received funds, let me use the word East at that time, the ones from the East, you are seen to be support socialism and communism. If you receive from the West, you are seen to be supporting capitalism and laissez-faire. But it is not always true that every donor that brings their money, it is without strings attached. They have certain expectations in return, and we also, as IBC, must agree or to look at what are the attachments to those the support you are receiving. And I do know that before we receive the funds, there is always a memorandum of understanding or an agreement to show what it is that can be done and what should not be done. And as an independent country and an independent institution, we must ensure that we do not receive funds that will have strings attached. Thank you, Chair.
So would you have a policy to vet partners? Is it important to have such a policy?
Thank you very much,
would
Chair.
you recommend it also to the IEBC if you get a chance?
I would recommend very strongly that IEBC prepares a policy to vet whoever wants to work with them, because even in our individual capacity, somebody would want to bring you money, you'd ask me, why are you giving money? There has to be a process of, first of all, they must be aligned. They must be organizations and countries that are aligned with our aspirations as a country. But you do not, for example, receive money from people that are completely divergent in terms of the way we would want to run our country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Njage, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I want to invite Professor to ask you some questions. Prof. Adams.
Thank you, Chair. 𝐍𝐣𝐚𝐠𝐢.
Yes, Prof.
State offices are expected to lead by example.
Yes, Chair, Prof.
How would you demonstrate professionalism and ethical conduct in your work at the IEBC so that both the stakeholders and Kenyans see an impartial arbiter?
Thank you, Chair. I know that Chapter 6 demands of all of us to behave in an ethical manner, in a manner that respects the people, in a manner that is open and transparent. But I'm also happy to note, Mr. Chairman, that IEBC itself, I looked at the IEBC Act, and there is a code of conduct that all members and staff of IEBC must sign to ensure that they behave in a particular way. And I know as long as we are able to do that and we follow the code of conduct, Chapter 6, and the things that are required of us to do things in an open, honest, and transparent manner, we will then be able to demonstrate not only to the political parties and the contestants in elections that we are above board, that we are doing things in the and will give them confidence that we are neutral arbiters. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. You have a very, very wide experience, served in the UN, ILO, locally. You have also held very high-profile positions. If one were to ask, what is 𝐍𝐤𝐚𝐠𝐢's leadership style, and what have been your most significant leadership successes and challenges?
Thank you very much, Chairman. My leadership style is participatory. I like taking people with me whenever we make decisions. I want to participate, I want to encourage them, I want to involve them, I want to consult them. So it's been participatory. My biggest achievement, Mr. Chairman, is, I must say, as the founder CEO of MESP, I was originally given a donation of 4.4 million, 4,417,000 euros. I was able to grow that when we converted it to shillings to about 750 million shillings. And my biggest achievement is that the institution is still going strong. And I was not tempted, Mr. Chairman, as the CEO for that institution over the years, to take a cent from it. Challenges we have faced, first of all, is getting committed people, honest and committed people. Because I must say, Mr. Chairman, I have had situations where you have recruited people, thought they are very honest, and then all of a sudden you hear from one of your clients or one of the people that somebody was quietly going out and demanding money from them. Not being ensuring that even when you recruit people, they will be entirely honest. The second thing is keeping good people. When that challenge I had, because when you train people and they do very well and they are getting in touch with these international bodies, they are pushed and often 2-3 times of their salary, and they have to leave. And then you have got to go back to the to stage one, or go back to the drawing board to be able to identify other people and train them. And sometimes you are losing somebody who has had more than 10 years experience. So continuity plan requires that we continuously train not just the top managers, but other people who can come in to ensure that the organization runs in the manner that it is expected. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Prof. Do you have two small questions, please?
Sure.
Short ones.
𝐿𝐚𝐫𝐢𝐧𝐠𝐨, this is the time that Chair tells me to take you back to 𝐍𝐤𝐚𝐡 High School in 1976.
Yes.
During my time in the mid-80s, it used to be called General Pepper. I don't know what it was called during your time. And I can see you have served in ILO.
Yes.
When did Kenya join ILO as a member? Which year?
Chairman, I must confess that I do not know the particular year.
I passed that one.
Yes.
Let me ask another general one.
Yes.
Not related to 𝐍𝐤𝐚𝐡 High School. Mention any 3 Nobel Prize laureates from Africa. That's a very wide choice.
Yes, I have a wide choice of Wole Soyinka, Wangari Maathai,
yes,
and let me remember another one. This lady from Liberia who was Madam Sarif.
Do you want to add a 4th one?
4th one.
Just to be sure.
Yes, Nelson Mandela. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We want to thank you for your time and for the interaction we have had. Do you have any question or a comment, kindly?
Mr. Chairman, I do not have any questions, but I have a comment. First, I want to begin by thanking this panel for the work you are doing. I also want to make a statement and say this, Chair. Having been shortlisted out of the more than 1,000 people, I already feel a winner. And even if I don't get this job, Mr. Chairman, I am already probably going to celebrate for having been shortlisted out of that big number. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your coming, and thank you for helping Kenyans appreciate the electoral process as you answered your questions today. Your certificates are at the door. You pick them, and feel free to leave. The notebook and the pen are yours, and the water too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Chairman. Okay. We can get Mr. John, FC teacher, FCTSE.